Wel, prynhawn da pawb and croeso ac uginio ar y hyd. Hello everyone and welcome once again to the Happy Cymru Cook Along. My name is Richard and this afternoon, as you can see on our little notice board, we are going to be celebrating World Houmous Day. Yes, it is a proper day, and yes, it's one of my favourite days of the year. And if you haven't guessed, because it's World Houmous Day, we're going to be making some wonderful, easy homemade hummus. We're going to then be serving that with some flatbreads and a little Moroccan-y sort of slow cooker tagine, which I promise you goes really, really well. Or you've got some little vegetable crudités just there. Just as with all of the cook-alongs, now that I have got everything ready computer-wise, I just quickly need to go back and wash my hands, and then I will be back in the room. So give me 20 seconds and 15 milliseconds, and I will be back. Well, prynhawn da, if you have just joined us, I'm just quickly washing my hands and then I will be back in the room. As you can probably see on the little screen, on my little screeny sort of notice board, today we are celebrating World Houmous Day, which is one of my favourite days of the year because I love hummus, and we are going to be making some homemade hummus, some flatbreads, and we're going to be serving that with either some vegetable crudités or a wonderful little Moroccan-y sort of vegetable tagine, which I promise you is absolutely delicious. I'm just quickly now drying my hands, popping my towel into my bin, and I will be back in the room in literally 3 seconds. So that's just gone into there. Just had a quick swig of water and I am back in the room. The water's just gone into my chest. Excuse me 1 second. So I'm going to start off with the official part this afternoon, and as you know, it all goes downhill from there. So my official part this afternoon is prynhawn da pawb and croeso once again to the Happy Cymru Cook Along. Welcome to the Cook Along. My name is Richard, and heddiw, today we are celebrating World Houmous Day, as I said right at the start of today's live session, and I'm going to be making this wonderful little homemade sort of hummus, which is really, really, really delicious. I'm also going to be serving some quick and easy flatbreads, and then we've got a choice of how we're going to serve it afterwards as well. And the homemade hummus doesn't take long to cook or prepare, because it's just whizzed up in a little food blender, or you can do it in a bag. So I'm going to do that as my second recipe, but my first recipe that we are going to do is going to be my little flatbreads. And I know that I've shown you how to make these many times in various connotations when we're doing curries and when we're doing other things, but they are so simple. I was making these with a group the other day and they thought it was wonderful, so I want to show you how easy it is to make them once again. So let me just click my computer screen just there, and I'm hoping that the recipe for our little flatbreads have just come up, and if I click on that one, I have then got my recipe on my screen just there, because my eyesight isn't that good anymore. So you will see on our little recipe card that you basically need three main ingredients, right? You need 100 grams of flour, and this will make easily 100 gram mix will easily make 8 little sort of flatbreads, okay, or 4 larger ones, right? So it goes really, really well and goes a long way. And you need 100 grams of plain flour, and you need equal amounts of liquid or yogurt or something like that. I've chosen this afternoon, I know it says yogurt on the screen, but when I went into my fridge, my yogurt unfortunately was about to walk out on its own for some reason. So I've discarded that and we've gone with the milk, right? So that's just a good lesson that you can use whatever you want. If you haven't got milk in the house, you could easily use water as well. To that, I've added half a teaspoon of baking powder, and then I'm going to sort of oomph it up with a little bit of herbs. So I've got my trusty sort of mixed herbs just there, and we're going to add some herbs because that means that we don't have to add as much salt to the recipes, because there's going to be salt or a source of salt in the hummus, and there's also a source of salt coming from our little tagine. I'm then going to add my trusty sort of parsley, just because it adds colour, so you can add as much or as little as that, and I'm going to add half a teaspoon of each of those. So then once you've got it like that, I can give it a little mix in one direction, just like that. Make a little well in the centre, and the key is when you're adding your liquid, you can always add more, but you can't take any out. So I'm going to add, and I got way too much there as well, right? But I'm going to add in dye a tree. That works out, I can tell, after years of cooking, that's about 50 mils of water or liquid, right? So I'm going to give that just a little mix, just as so, and you can see that it's sucked up all of that liquid. We can then add a little bit more, right? Because you don't want it to be a really, really wet mixture. Equally, you don't want it to be too dry. So I'm going to add in dye a tree. Okay, you could measure in tablespoons or teaspoons, and one level teaspoon of liquid is normally equal to about 5 millilitres. A dessert spoon is equal to approximately 10 mils, and a tablespoon is equal to about 15 mils, right? So you can see that I've nearly mixed everything up, but you can see there's a little bit of flour in the bottom. So literally, I'm going to use my dessert spoon just here, and I am just going to pop that just in like that, and literally that is enough. Just like when we're making bread, all that you're trying to do is just mix it up so you end up with a nice clean bowl. That means that it's easier for you to clean your bowl afterwards, and more importantly, it means that it's not too wet and it's not too dry, because it's not too sticky, right? So I need to work quite quickly now, and I'm just going to go behind the recipe card, because I realised that I haven't got any spare flour. So let me just sort out my flour just there, and oh dear, it's gone all over everywhere. So would have been easy to do it on the table, but I'm back in the room and I've just got some plain flour just there, right? So the next thing is I am just going to pop a little bit of flour on my surface, blowed at above just like that, and the next thing is I can just get that out just as so. As I said, this will easily make sort of 4 large sort of flatbreads, or 8 little small ones. I'm not going to knead it like we would a normal bread dough. I'm just going to make it nice and smooth, just like that. Trying not to add too much flour to your surface yet, right? Then I can get a trusty sort of table knife, and as I said, this will easily make 4 large ones, right, or 8 little small ones. I prefer doing the smaller ones because when you have 2, it feels as if you're having more, right? But you are only having the small ones. I'm just going to pop those on there, and I'm going to prepare those afterwards, because I'm just going to do 2 now. And literally all that you want to do is I just turn them into little balls. You could roll them in your hands like that if you wanted to. Then it comes to rolling it out, right? You can either use your hands to press it out, but to save time today, I'm just going to use this rolling pin. But whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to turn on my little non-stick sort of frying pan onto a medium sort of high heat, just so that it starts to heat up, right? So when you're rolling, always remember, okay, don't roll in every direction, because everything will end up being dog-eared, right? So you're only ever rolling in one direction, then turn whatever you're doing. So you're rolling in one direction, and then you can turn. I'm going to turn him over, roll in one direction, and then turn him round. Roll in one direction, and then turn. And you're looking for it to be not as thin as possible, right? Because you don't want it to break, but you want it to be about the thickness of a pound coin, right? Of the new pound coins. And you can see that I've got that little thickness just there. And if it's not quite an oval shape, you can sort of pull it into that little oval shape. So I've got one just there. I'm going to do exactly the same to this one, because I'm going to serve 2 little flatbreads this afternoon. And if it does end up being a little bit dog-eared, right, might not fit in there, but it does look rustic, right? So that's my excuse now that I'm not actually making a perfect circle shape, right? So you've got those just rolled out just like that, and you can see that's the sort of size that you're looking for. So you've got quite a lot, and it goes a long way, right? So I'm just going to leave those just over there, and as long as they're on a flat surface, you can carry on rolling out the other ones. Sometimes when I'm in schools or out in communities and I haven't got one of those, we just pat it out, right? Pat it out as thin as you can possibly do it. So let me just wipe over my table just there. So, you know, I like to keep things as clean as possible, where possible. So that is just now nice and clean. Just going to quickly wash my hands so I haven't got dough and flour all over the place. Grab myself a little paper towel, and then I will be back in the room. So I can see that my pan is steaming quite a lot. So that means that it's now nice and ready, right? So as I said, I'm using a little non-stick frying pan, and as you know, I like to use non-stick because it means I can add no oil or just a little amount to stop things sticking, right? So as I said, it's on a low to medium sort of heat. I tend to heat it up first of all and then reduce the heat. Just makes it a little bit easier. And then to cook these, all that you're going to do, no fat or no oil it is necessary to add it because it'll stick. It's a non-stick pan that goes onto your pan, and you will cook it for approximately sort of one-ish sort of minutes on the one side, and then you'll turn him over. And you can probably see it was quite a hot pan, right? That I've got bubbles starting there already, and that's basically the carbon dioxide being produced by the baking powder, right? So it's starting to make it bubble, which means that it's starting to produce all that lovely gas, right? So literally that's now nicely cooking on the one side, and I get very excited. You can probably see those little bubbles just there. I get very excited when I see the bubbles, right? Because it means that it's cooking really well. So that's had about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, and I'm just going to turn that over. If I turn them over just there, you can see that it looks really delicious. It's just like a little rustic sort of piece of bread, right? So easy, so cheap, it is unbelievable, right? So I'm going to try and be brave and add that one on the other side. As I said, once you cook the one side, I've turned the heat down now, so it'll take a little bit longer to cook, but I promise you they are absolutely blasses young. And if I take that one out just there, you can see that it's cooking on that side as well. So that is nearly cooked on that side. I'm just going to push that back, and I'm going to try, right? And try is the operative word, right? To do 2 things at once. So the next thing that we're going to make is our little bit of hummus. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. So let me just click just there, and I'm hoping that our recipe card has just disappeared. Yes, it has. And then I can click on the other button, and I'm hoping that the recipe for our hummus, yes, there we go, has just come up on that side. And let me just click that one, and then we have got my recipe on my screen just on the side. And you can see as part of our hummus recipe that the main sort of ingredient that we need is our chickpeas, okay? And I love chickpeas. I was making curry with a group online this morning, and we were actually doing a little tagine, and they thought they were absolutely delicious in there, right? Really, really good. So my little flatbreads are now cooked. Let me grab myself a little bit just there, and you can see that side is lovely and cooked. Those bits aren't burnt, they're charred, right? And charred is much different to being burnt, right? So they're still really delicious. They're going to have that little sort of charred sort of taste as well. And that side is cooked as well. As I said, you can cook all of them at once, and then the great thing about that is that you can freeze them down and have them, pull them out of the freezer as and when you sort of require them. So let me just pop that and push that back so I don't burn my arm, because my arms seem to be doing this quite a lot today. And let's get back to this sort of hummus recipe, okay? So as I said, we've got our can of chickpeas, and I've chosen today to do the full mixture. So I've got some left just in there, and I've got the rest of my chickpeas just here. Something that you can do with these is you can roast these down, right? So you could use half of them for your hummus. You could roast the rest down, and you can eat them as sort of nuts, right? Some healthier sort of nuts. The other great thing about chickpeas, if you've got vegans in the house, chickpea water, which is known as aquafaba, has got the same properties as egg white. So you could whisk it up and then turn it into meringues and things like that, right? I think I've got a little bit too much sort of chickpeas just there, so I'm going to take some out, right? Otherwise I'll be struggling sort of afterwards. Now, to that, traditionally it would be made with oil, and it would be made with tahini, which is a blended sort of sesame seed paste, right? But I'm going to try and make it slightly healthier. So rather than using oil, I've just got, and the ingredients just on there, 1 tablespoon of sort of yogurt, right? The thicker the yogurt, the better. So this is a Greek sort of yogurt, and that just goes in just like that, right? Then I need to jam pack it with lots and lots of flavour, right? So the first thing is, on the recipe card, you can see that it says 1 clove of garlic that's crushed. I haven't got a clove, and as you know, I really like using garlic granules at the moment. So I'm just going to add, by eye, about half a teaspoon of my garlic granules, because half a teaspoon is equal to 1 clove, okay? Then I've got my little bit of trusty sort of mixed herbs, okay? So I've got my mixed herbs just there. I've also got my little bit of parsley, and then the final things that we've got is I've got a little bit of lemon juice, and it is 1 teaspoon. I know this is a dessert spoon, but I'm just going to use 5 mils just there. And then I've got a little bit of black pepper, and that would be your bog standard sort of hummus recipe. You could also add a little bit of water just to slacken it down if it needs it, and I got some water just over there. So if you wanted then to turn it into a roasted or red pepper hummus, half a pepper, you've got pepper, red pepper sort of hummus. If you wanted a spicy one, you could add some spices to it at this stage, right? What I'm going to do is, just to make sure it's not on the recipe card, okay, but I'm just going to add a little nibble of a stock cube just there. That's going to add a little bit of salt, but it's also going to add a little bit of extra flavour as well. So that goes on there just as so, and I've got my little blender just like that, and then this is where it could all go wrong. So I'm just going to pop those bits just up there. I've got my little blender, and then we can start to blend it up. So a little bit of noise would help if it was switched on. So you can decide when you're doing it whether you want a really blended one or a chunky one. I quite like it sort of chunky-ish, right? say, blending up quite nicely. And I think that's enough screaming from that. You can see that we have got a lovely little hummus, and I promise you this is really delicious. Now, if you didn't want to use chickpeas, there's lots of other things that you could use. I often do a butter bean paste in a similar sort of way. Works well with cannellini beans. I wouldn't suggest that you use sort of red kidney beans unless you want a sort of purple sort of paste, right? But I promise you it's really, really, really delicious. So that's ready just there. Now, as I said, that's our hummus, and traditionally you would have that, and if I'm out and about, when I am allowed out and about, although I am starting to go out and about, I often have it with some crudités. So I've got my little carrots, I've got some cucumber just there. I might have a little flatbread on the side which I can dip in and have that as a sort of on the go sort of lunch, which works really, really well. So let me just pop a little bit of my hummus just in there, and it was low fat sort of yogurt, and you can see I'm going to try, let me break that up just there, and let me see if I can plonk him just there, and you can see that you have got your homemade hummus with your little flatbread and your little crudités or vegetable sort of sticks. And I promise you, great as a little healthy snack, great as a little healthier sort of lunchbox either for school or work as well. So you've got that one just there. The other thing that I wanted to show you and how to serve it was how I would serve it maybe if I was at home on the weekend, right? And as I said, we could serve it with a little bit of sort of a tagine sort of thing, because hummus is very much a sort of Moroccan-y sort of dipping sort of thing that you can have in lots of Lebanese and Middle Eastern sort of cooking, right? And a tagine is obviously Moroccan and is absolutely delicious. So this is my version of a slow cooker sort of vegetable tagine, and it's so simple, it is unbelievable. Basically, what you need, and I'm just clicking that just there, and I'm clicking on the other side, and I'm hoping that the recipe card has just come up on the side, and if I just click on that one, I've got my ingredients list just there. This was made in that was made rather, not that, but this was made in the slow cooker this morning. Basically, it's one onion which you've peeled and chopped. You need, if you're doing a large version, 2 sweet potatoes, 3 carrots and 2 parsnips, which you cut up into little dice pieces. I added a pepper just because I had one in the fridge. Then you have got some tomato puree and some tomatoes, and then you've got your spices. So for our spices, we used a little bit of ground cinnamon, a little bit of cumin, a little bit of smoked paprika, then some garlic granules, a little bit of parsley, and a little bit of mixed herbs and your stock cube. Mix that all up with a little bit of corn flour to help thicken it up, and I promise you it is absolutely blasses iawn. And you can serve that with some homemade sort of couscous. You could make it homemade, but shop bought is better. That's what I make it at home. Or you could have it with rice, or you could have it with your hummus and your sort of flatbreads, right? And the way that I would serve that is whenever I'm allowed out, and I've been to London a few times over the years, and one of my favourite restaurants, right, is something called Hummus Bros down just off Oxford Street, right? And they do this wonderful little dip where they put the hummus in the middle of the plate. They then make a little sort of dip in the middle and put the filling, whatever filling you want, in the centre, right? And it's absolutely blasses iawn. So that's what I'm trying to recreate today. And then as soon as I have finished this, I will be having my little Moroccan sort of tagine with my homemade hummus and then a little flatbread on the side. So I'm trying to get that off just there. So we've got our hummus dip just there. I've got my little sort of flatbread, and the final thing, I think it needs a little bit of parsley on top, just as so, and you can see that you've got your Moroccan sort of spiced vegetables or tagine with your hummus and your flatbreads, which you can dip in, and I promise you it is absolutely blasses yam. So that brings me to the end of today's Happy Cymru Cook Along. I hope that you have been inspired to celebrate World Houmous Day either this evening or over the weekend. I promise you, you won't be disappointed by these two recipes. Don't forget that all the recipe cards are available on the Facebook page as well as the Happy page on our website. I look forward to cooking with you again next week, where we are celebrating National sort of Veg Week, and we are going to be making the first recipe, I believe off the top of my head, if I can remember, is a roasted vegetable couscous with a sort of harissa style sort of dressing. And then on Thursday next week, I think we are doing a roasted vegetable sort of lasagna, which again is absolutely delicious. So diolch yn fawr iawn for watching. I'm going to grab that because this is the next thing that I'm going to be doing, is dipping and munching into that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Diolch yn fawr and coginio hapus.